Welcome to the Dan and Dave Show, presented by Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy. I'm your host, with the most from the West Coast, Daniel Erwin. And we're out here in beautiful Monterey doing our thing. Alrighty, so everybody knows Carolina Ballistics is connected to firearms, firearm training, and firearm education throughout the Carolinas. But what you might not know is that I'm a serious nerd. And I mean a serious nerd. Today we're going to do something special and create a segment to the show of the Dan and Dave Show called the Nerd Corner. The Nerd Corner. All right, I would like to introduce you guys to a really good friend of mine. We've been lifelong friends literally since we were children. And an overall great human being. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Ellington.
Hello, everyone. This is your boy, Serial Killer 88, also known as DJ Scrum Diddly Umptious. As Daniel mentioned, we've been friends since, we've been kids, man. So it's a great opportunity to, work with him and create a space. And, it's an honor to see my boy do what he does and just sharing that creative space. So.
Yeah. For sure. All right, so Mark, real quick, what got you into fiction, the Marvel universe, the universe that later became known as the DCEU, comic books? What brought you into this realm of nerddom?
Well, I've been into it since I could read and walk. I mean, since since I was a young little whippersnapper. I guess my introduction into the fantasy world was through my dad playing the NES, playing Legend of Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I can remember, I was able to hold been playing video games. So from there I got into a lot of kids during that age and that era of comic books, video games, movies, cartoons. So I believe coming from New York. Spider-Man was a big influence.
Yeah.
Getting into those characters, and actually, my dad used to collect comic books. He was a big Thor fan, and from there, it's been as they say, it's been all she wrote.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we know that X-Men has made a return. X-Men 1997.
Homie.
I personally have thoroughly enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on the new series for X-Men?
I loved it. I actually watched it last night, and I watched it again this morning. So just to see if I missed anything. But I love the direction that they're going in. I don't want to spoil anything that anybody hasn't seen it yet. But if you are into the comic books, the direction that they're going in, it's very exciting. And if they stick to the source material, which they have a plethora of source material that they can use, it'll be a sight to see.
For sure.
And I hope they stay the course.
For sure. I enjoyed how they picked up exactly where they left off. I wasn't quite sure what they were going to do. I thought they were going to basically reboot it or redo it with better graphics or whatever. But they actually picked up after the death of Charles Xavier. And I thought that was really, 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 really good. I'm not going to lie. I'm a huge Gambit fan. And I know where this story is going. And I am not looking forward to the betrayal of Rogue. But you guys are really going to enjoy it if they indeed stick to the source material, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about Marvel and how they have come to this point. I'm sure you agree with me and most Marvel fans when we look at what Marvel created over the span of 20 plus years. The first couple of phases were incredible. Iron Man 1, brilliant. Iron Man 2, meh, but it provided content. Iron Man 3, meh, but it, provided content. I think all of it was great for what it did for Infinity Wars and Endgame. I thought that was the a brilliant, I guess the word what I would use would be pinnacle for what Marvel developed. But then after Endgame, they kind of fell off. What do you think about Marvel from where they started to where they are now? What is your thoughts on that?
It's right now, I think everybody's feeling a little bit burnout on Marvel movies and just superhero movies together. I think the main point is that it's lost its substance and its heart.
Yeah.
It, they're looking more for a cash grab instead of actually, fleshing out the stories that, again, you'll hear executives and producers and directors say they haven't even read the comic book,
Yeah.
but still they'll sit there and try to make a blockbuster hit, and you have a core fan base that that you're trying to appease, or not even necessarily appease, but you're trying to I guess impress and gather, an audience, but you're not using the source material. You have so much potential,
Yeah.
but it's been keep dropping the ball,
Yeah.
and people are getting sick and tired of it. And they see, oh, there's another Marvel movie. I guess I may go see it, but people are losing interest, unfortunately.
For sure. For sure. I would say out of the last, I don't know how many movies has came out since Endgame. Let's say what, seven or eight, right? I would say the best movies that came out since Endgame would probably be Homecoming. Homecoming, I think honestly the Spider-Man genre has basically kind of kept the MCU even relative. Um, Even with some of their content that they were putting on Disney Plus. I think Loki was okay. Um I felt that they dropped the ball on what's that, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think they dropped the
Yeah.
ball there. I think they had an incredible opportunity, but they fumbled it. I think we have gotten used to a mediocre level of quality when it comes to the MCU, and their stories that they're creating. I don't know what they were doing with the Marvels. I have the life of me have no idea what they're doing with the Marvels. Um, and that's kind of been how they've been going with pretty much all of their content. Um, and I think, wasn't it recently that they just said that the Marvels, was it the Marvels? Which one was it with the lowest grossing Marvel film that they said was ever developed? Do you remember what
It
that
may be the
was?
Marvels, or it wasn't the Eternals, was it?
No, but the Eternals was another ridiculous one. Like that, I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on there. Like, since the Eternals episode, there's a giant hand sticking out of the middle of the planet. And not
And nobody
one
shows up to
person
reveal
mentioned it.
it.
Nobody wants to acknowledge that there is a giant galactic being being popped out of the planet, and it hasn't been acknowledged. I know that the MCU, I think Kevin Feige recently determined that um the Eternals was going to be basically shelved and discontinued,
Wow.
which I think is probably the best play for that content. Because I mean, like, nobody cares. You got these massive stars. You got Captain America. You got Iron Man. The Avengers. You soon will have the X-Men. We don't really care. Who cares about the Eternals? Like, seriously, who cares about the Eternals? And it really didn't never really, honestly, in my opinion, there were just so many better options that they could have gone. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
Uh, it didn't capture people's imaginations.
Yeah.
Like, unlike the Guardians of the Galaxy, and not a lot of people at that time didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
Even like, except for like avid, comic book readers knew who they were. But even then, they didn't have a big audience until the MCU came out, and it was I guess with direction, it was a really successful franchise.
Sure.
But with the Eternals, it didn't hit.
Exactly.
In my opinion, it didn't. It didn't have that spark or that that grab that I guess they were hoping that it would catch fire, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, it didn't.
So, what I think was the worst MCU movie series was probably She-Hulk.
Oh my
I
God.
feel that it raised Marvel. The MCU was working so hard in developing this universe, 20 years worth of universe, for She-Hulk to come around and just basically obliterate it all. How are you gonna break the fourth wall to the point that you create the Feige character and be like, this guy is the reason why all these movies are this way? And I was like, man, please delete that and never share that with anybody. Delete, just everybody, forget this even happened. And then how they introduced Daredevil. Like, what is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna bring Daredevil, Marvel's best content that they created out of Netflix, Marvel's best content, and you're gonna pair him up with the worst content Disney Plus creates. I was like, what a waste! What a complete waste of a character. You know what I'm saying?
It was painful to watch.
Yeah.
It was really painful to watch.
Yeah.
See your boy Daredevil, as you stated, one of the most amazing piece of art.
Yeah.
that came out of
Netflix. Yeah.
It killed me when they said they canceled. I was interested in seeing where Luke Cage was going. Punisher, of course. And then Daredevil.
Yeah.
The where they left off, it was the piece de resistance.
Yeah. So like what made Daredevil so unique was the realism. Like the series was steeped in realism. So like the action scenes, the fight scenes, they actually pulled from a lot of what is it called? Like Japanese, like back in the day they would do one shots, like old school Japanese theater. Yeah. And they pulled from that. You would see it in what was that series with Tony Jaa? In which they would have like these long one scene fight scenes. You know what I'm talking about.
The Protector.
What? No, I don't think it was the Protector. It was like he was in an apartment complex and he's just fighting everybody in this giant.
Raid.
Yeah, Raid. Again, if you guys get a chance, if you haven't seen Raid, please watch Raid and Raid 2. You will not regret it. It is phenomenal. But anyways, that's what Daredevil was doing on Netflix. And everybody was like, wow, this is revolutionary. He's looked like he's getting his butt, just getting jacked up here. He's getting fatigued while he's in the middle of combat. When you look at a lot of action films and you see people just going, that is nice to see, but it's completely out of the realm of reality. But what Daredevil did was like, you saw the very human impact of conflict or combat with other people, and the damage that it imposed on their own body. And I thought that was really, really cool how they did that. And in fact, in my opinion, that's what tied Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Punisher, was just that level of reality that was basically the theme of those series. But then when you take that quality of theater, when you take that quality of theater and put it in a completely CGI development in She-Hulk, I mean, you would see the fight scenes and it was just like, this is not hitting. This is just not hitting. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was just shaking my head, just thinking of that Megan Thee Stallion scene at the end of that one episode.
Yeah, that was unnecessary. Yeah,
it hurt me.
I ain't want to see that no more, man. I was like, what was so funny about it was that I didn't want to see it in the first place, but because and this is the caveat of Marvel, because it carries the name, it carries literally the lineage of comic books, like legendary comic books that we all love, know, and love. Especially us millennials. Like millennials are tied into comic books like no other generation of people. Like we are tied into comic books. When Blade came out,
Blade, quick side story. Because of the marketing of Blade, it didn't. I don't remember like barely any trailers about it, and like almost went straight to video.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom we going to Blockbuster and renting it. She not knowing what it was. I was like, oh, it says Marvel on it. I was like, this is pretty cool. And I remember Blade from Spider-Man the animated series.
Yeah.
He made his his feature in there and an episode with Morbius and whatnot. But of course, it was a hard rated R movie.
Yeah.
But still, we pushed through it. But I was like, yo, it was a great movie.
For sure.
It was solid.
For sure. Marvel and DC right now, they're in the same issue. They had generations of great films, and those generations of great films are literally the same. It's kind of like loyalty. The success of what they created initially, when you had Blade with Marvel or The Watchmen with DC. The Watchmen, Zack Snyder. So Zack Snyder's an entire subject in itself. What Zack Snyder created with The Watchmen was visually incredible. But what made Watchmen so captivating was how he made the heroes. I mean, we already had anti-heroes, but like
they're horrible people.
They were really bad people. You know, like they were awful people. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
the approach, the delivery, the dark tone that he brought, you saw that same dark tone in Man of Steel. You saw that same dark tone. Batman v Superman, we'll get into that. And the Zack Snyder's Justice League, which in my opinion is the only real Justice League that was developed. And what was the guy who made the one in 2017? What was his name?
Christopher.
Who?
Batman?
No, the one that made so Zack Snyder got removed for the original Justice League. Who put that Justice League together? It was one of the guys who made one of the Marvel films. He made the first Avengers.
What is his name?
It's on the tip of my tongue, and you know what? It doesn't matter because it was terrible. It was terrible.
Yes.
If you're looking at this, you ruined DC. I want you to know that. You ruined DC.
Bro.
Return to Snyderverse.
I remember looking at an interview with Jason Momoa.
Okay.
Jason Momoa was positive that he was going to be Lobo.
Yeah.
Like in his heart of hearts, after he's doing it, because he didn't know what he was auditioning for.
Mm-hmm.
But in his heart of hearts, it's like, it has to be Lobo. I was like, it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he did what he did with Aquaman, but he, in his heart of hearts, he wanted to be Lobo.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see what James Gunn does with him, but.
Was it James Gunn that did the Avengers? No, it wasn't James Gunn.
No.
Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon did the Avengers, and he did the 2017 Justice League, which was terrible. What you did to Ben Affleck, terrible. What you did to Superman, terrible. Matter of fact, I got a bone to pick with all of WB. What y'all did, when y'all basically forced the Justice League out the way that y'all did, y'all know y'all dead wrong for that. Y'all should have let Zack Snyder weep over I think it was his son passed away. Y'all should have let that man weep and then let that man come back. That's what y'all should have did.
Again.
But y'all forced out terrible content. I don't want to call that out. I want to call that out. I feel like it is necessary that we call out WB for that. Y'all been screwing things up ever since. Blue Beetle, I don't even know why that was even invented. You don't even have the Teen Titans. Blue Beetle doesn't matter without the Teen Titans. Where's the Nightwing at? You ain't even got Nightwing. Do we even have a Batman? Where's Batman?
Yeah, we don't know what's going on with the Batman.
Who's going to be Batman? We don't even have a Justice League, and you're talking about Blue Beetle.
It's just, again, they have so much source material, but refuse to lose.
Man, bro, like, man, like,
you have all your answers right there in front of you, and you just decide, no, we don't need that.
I have come to a conclusion that Warner Brothers, they hate money. Yeah, I feel that in my heart that Warner Brothers hate money. Like, you have literally the most incredible writers in all of cinema at your fingertips. They are actually writing incredible content. Scott Snyder, no relations to Zack Snyder. Scott Snyder is one of the best comic book writers I've ever written. Right, one of the best comic book writers I've ever read his literature. Grant Morrison, great,
my boy,
great writer.
My boys,
great writer. You guys are literally making. You're making animated movies significantly better.
Significantly better. Marvel does. I don't even remember what the last, like, I guess you could, the Disney Plus stuff, but for the most part, like animated movies, DC has done an amazing job sticking to the source material.
Yeah.
I mean, and making pretty good, content. But man, they have so much potential. Court of Owls.
Man, don't even get me started. Bro, they tried the Court of Owls on that Gotham series that was on Fox, man. And again, look, you have a series called Gotham, and you choose to make Batman the smallest part. You make Batman the smallest part. I understand that you wanted to show what was going on in the city, but if you're going to make a series like that, you need to have a follow-up with Batman doing something with Gotham. You don't keep Batman a child. That's like having Goku and never letting him grow up, man. Come on, man. Come on. For that, DC, you guys get a wag of the finger. You guys, come on. In the realm of DC, we've had a number of creative directors in connection with who has ran DC. We've had Zack Snyder, of course, Jeff Johns, Walter Hamada, James Gunn, and now Peter Safran. Where do you see the future of DC? What do you think the future of DC looks like? Peter Safran and James Gunn has come out, and of course, Kevin Feige for Marvel. They said that they're no longer going to be working on quantity, but they're going to be working on quality, which I find interesting because they should have probably been working on quality the entire time. Where do you, as a fan of comic books, I'm not saying as a fan of DC because DC right now is terrible. Well, the cinema of DC and the cinema of Marvel is terrible. Where do you see DC going moving forward in the next 10 years?
All right. I think a good comparison is what the situation with Konami and Hideo Kojima, in the sense that they fired Hideo Kojima because he wanted to create art. And then Konami wanted to blast the market with just, mobile games with quantity rather than quality.
Yeah.
So that was their focus. Now that, Hideo's doing his own thing, focusing on, working with Jordan Peele with this new horror game. But it's so many things coming down the pipe with that. But in the sense of they Hideo at his core is an artist,
Yeah.
and focusing on what he, what he envisions, and same thing with DC and Marvel. I hope that they, as they stated, focus on quality of the movies, sticking to source material. Of course, you can't everything cannot translate from a comic book to, cinema. Things have to be changed. Granted, understand that. But I hope with, these new movies that are coming out, a new Superman coming out, possibly, Jason Momoa coming back as Lobo. I hope they do, they keep their word and work on quality versus, trying just to oversaturate the market with just movies and
For
try to get
sure.
that cash
For sure.
grab. So we shall see.
Yeah. So, Peter Safran came out and James Gunn, they came out after, I think Peacemaker 2 was announced.
Yeah.
And they said that, well, James Gunn said that, they were going to create more character-driven art,
Okay.
with a younger Superman, in a Brave and the Bold style of Batman and Robin. I believe that was
Okay. Okay.
the statement. Um, with James Gunn and his track record record, how do you think that's gonna play out?
I mean, dude, the last Guardians, as dark as it was a good send off for the franchise, man.
I
That
think,
opening
yeah,
intro with Creep. Yeah, I mean, as he stated, they combined cinematography, the music,
yeah,
and just the overall story, and they did, I think, a really good job. A beautiful thing, a piece of art
for sure.
for the last movie for the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I
Well,
hope that bring. Go ahead.
go. No, no, no. Let me let you finish. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I hope he brings that spirit to the new franchise,
For sure.
into Marvel or into DC. Excuse me.
So, as far as I go back with James Gunn, if we look at James Gunn, the majority of his work, he has a very specific writing style. If you look at
Yeah,
Guardians or Suicide Squad, um, it essentially it is the same format.
yeah,
Highly comedic. Usually there's 80s retro music connected to it.
yeah,
Um, and that's it. I think that's
yeah,
good. I think that's good for certain movies, but I do not think
yeah.
that's good for all movies. Like, I don't want
Yeah,
that.
agreed.
I don't want that in a Batman series. I'm gonna be straight up.
True.
I do not want Batman to feel like what you did for Suicide Squad. I don't want that. I don't want
Yeah,
what you did for Guardians of the Galaxy to be in the Superman. I don't want that. We understand that music has an incredible impact on
oh yeah,
putting the person in the film, and playing retro music, especially to millennials, is like
yes.
it's a you're checking off tally
Nostalgia.
marks. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely. But like, when you have characters that as deep and as complex as Batman slash Bruce Wayne, I feel that there needs to be a stronger use of silence. Um, Especially when you're covering some of the more, and this goes into like theater and cinematography, but um I think how he handled Rocket Raccoon was good.
yeah,
Um and that was pretty incredible because Rocket Raccoon is a CGI character. And he's a clearly a CGI character, and the ability that he was able to pull emotion for us for Rocket Raccoon, I think, was artistically brilliant. But saying that, I feel that James Gunn would not be the best selection for the director of a Batman series. I
I can
believe,
see that. I can respect that.
yeah. If we look back at the best development for Batman, and I won't even say Zack Snyder, even though I am clearly a restore the Snyderverse fan. I would say something like Christopher Nolan. You
Yes.
look at how Christopher Nolan developed the Batman. It was seeped in reality. It
Yep.
was it did not use pop culture to pull like strings. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It used oh man, the writer. Who's the you remember the score for Christopher Nolan's music?
Was it Hans Zimmerman?
Hans Zimmerman. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah, he's coming to
Yeah.
what's the saying for concerts? Yeah,
Hans
yeah,
Zimmerman, incredible.
yep.
He does such an incredible job with music and sound that I feel is significantly more effective than playing some 80s tune. I don't know. What's that? What is it? Led Zeppelin or
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I'm
Led
saying?
Zeppelin,
Axl
Stevie
Rose.
Nicks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I feel like when you really want to develop a character, you don't necessarily need like a pop song to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think Hans Zimmerman does a brilliant way of capturing emotion just by using string instruments. I remember when you look back at how the Joker was developed in Christopher Nolan's series. He would that violin, that high tense violin, and like you knew something was about to happen, and you felt it was about to happen, and then pow, he did it. I remember he he one of my favorite scenes that Heath Ledger did with that character was he got the gang members together. He broke a broom and was like, the last man standing is who I'm working with. You know what I'm saying? And I like that level that he was able to portray. The movie was a PG-13 movie, but if you looked at it back in the day, I remember looking at it as a kid and I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
It's a visual movie.
I was like, this thing's rated R. But
man, R.I.P. Heath Ledger. I remember when they announced him, the guy from the 10 Things I Hate About You being Joker. Are you sure
Brokeback
about
Mountain?
that?
How you gonna have the man from Brokeback Mountain being the Joker?
Yeah. But man, R.I.P. Heath Ledger. He gave his all to that.
I think there were so many components that made that movie so incredible. Not just the directing style of Christopher Nolan, or just the acting style, but that was a star cast. You had Christian Bale as Batman. You had Aaron Eckhart, I think his name is, as Two-Face. Man, that thing was just incredible. Michael Caine, Lord rest his soul, as Alfred.
Yeah.
Good grief. That cast was incredible. And I think Michael Jai White was in there. He was the guy.
Yeah, he was the gangster, Michael Jai White, man. Dude.
It was such an incredible cast.
Special shout out to Michael Jai White.
Yeah.
He's been in pop culture. Like he was Spawn, he was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, he's been in so many movies that people don't even just put together or connect to. But yeah, special shout out to him because he's making it do what it do.
Yeah.
My guy.
Yeah, Michael Jai White, we love you. You are our hero. Michael Jai White. Big shout out to Michael Jai White. But yeah, what Christopher Nolan was able to accomplish with The Dark Knight, and then the Dark Knight Returns, I believe it was, with Bane as the main villain. I didn't think it was possible that you have 3 films and all 3 of them are hits. Like what Heath Ledger did with the Joker was incredible. But if you really think about what Tom Hardy did with Bane, I'm just saying, Tom Hardy has significantly more quotable lines as Bane than Heath Ledger had as the Joker.
Yes.
I'm not saying that Bane was better than Heath Ledger, but I am saying that Bane was significantly more quotable than Heath Ledger's Joker. And
I think
go ahead.
that Tom Hardy brought the true essence of Bane
Yeah.
based on from the comic books, because he was a very intelligent,
Yeah.
very analytical villain. And that's why he he broke Batman's back, of course,
He
but
outsmarted Batman.
He outsmarted Batman on so many occasions that people don't even realize. Because usually in the cartoons and even in the old
he was just
Batman Robin, he's viewed as just a musclehead, and it's just the portrayal of Bane in Christopher Nolan's movie was one of the best I've ever seen on screen.
It was incredible. It was incredible. In fact, I would say that every villain that Christopher Nolan developed in that series, from Joker to Bane, but I thought Ra's al Ghul, like Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, man, like this man can't miss. Like,
how can we, as comic book fans, all of us forgot about Talia al Ghul.
And I'm not gonna lie. I was like, how you gonna stab?
I forgot. But wait a minute, Talia.
And then he was like, and I was like, that's right. Yeah, you had that coming. Yeah. That trilogy, in my opinion, should be the standard for movies. What Christopher Nolan did there, and I understand Christopher Nolan's attitude now towards comic book movies, because he won't do it. He won't do it because there's so much influence with the development of movies now, especially at Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of people don't know that Christopher Nolan was involved in the creation of Superman, Henry Cavill's Superman, who everybody without a doubt would recognize as the best Superman that has ever been created. Henry Cavill is Superman. It is synonymous. Whether he's on Mission Impossible or he's playing The Witcher, Henry Cavill is Superman. That's without a doubt, and that was really because of the scouting that Legendary Records did in connection with Henry Cavill, which was great. But the reason why the Snyderverse was such an incredible series, or could have been an incredible series, was that it was literally a joint venture between Zack Snyder and his wife Deborah Snyder, Christopher Nolan, and I think his wife was involved in the development. I know Christopher Nolan and his wife, I think they own Legendary. It's Syncope. They own Syncope Studios. But it was literally a joint venture between literally two married couples, Zack Snyder and his wife, and Christopher Nolan and his wife. And then you got, David Goyer and, all the great things that he did. I thought what he did with, what's that series he did? What's it? It was that tank movie. Fury. Fury, with Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf, and of course, I think Tom Hardy was actually in there too. But yeah, what he did with Fury was incredible. Sorry, David Ayers did.
It was Bernthal.
Yeah, John Bernthal, who was also the Punisher, if you guys are wondering.
Yeah.
But David Ayers, I'll take that back. David Ayers actually did Fury, and he was also worked with the team for the Superman Zack Snyder's series. David Ayers actually also did the Suicide Squad, which was completely manipulated by the studio due to the success of Marvel at the time. I think it was Civil War, so they ended up bringing Joss Whedon in again, and he ended up jacking that up too, or some. It might not have been Joss Whedon. I think it was actually the guy who's James Gunn. I think he actually came in and kind of jimmy jammed Suicide Squad, and then he came back and made the Suicide Squad. And honestly, both of them were kind of terrible. David Ayers has actually came out and was like, "Hey, my version of the Suicide Squad was 1 billion times better than all of that. So, hey, if you guys are out there, restore the restore the Ayer cut as well." But what we have in connection with cinema now is drastically different from what was developed. So let's do a little closing point. Top video games that what would be your top video games? Let's do 5 right now that is out right now that you would suggest. for the fans out there. Yeah.
All right. So I would go with the new Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Lies of P.
Okay.
Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Okay.
If you haven't got the chance to play it yet, Star Wars Survivor. And fifth game. Let me think about fifth game. New game. For the family, a family game. Mario Wonder. Amazing game.
Which one?
Mario Wonder.
Mario
the
Wonder?
New Mario game that came out.
Yeah. All right, guys. So you heard it. You heard it. Make sure y'all guys check that out. Guys, if you made it this far in the podcast, you are the real one. We are Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy, and we were brought to you guys by the Dan and Dave Show. So thank you guys so much for checking us out. First off, I want to give a huge shout out to Mark. Thank you so much for coming out, checking us out, and having a quick talk with us on the new segment of our show called the Nerd Corner. Also, we want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors. Thank you guys so much for donating. Give a huge shout out to our Facebook page. It is blowing up, so thank you guys so much. Charles Mendez, thank you for commenting and being involved and being our #1 involver on our Facebook page. All right, guys, thank you guys so much, and have a great one.